But, I mean, the Albanese government might be popular, it might be running high in the polls, feel it's successful, but it's actually now stuck. It wants to cut out our coal and gas, even more so than we've had so far. 1/3 of coal-fired power stations already gone. Wants to get rid of these sinful fossil fuels, but at the same time wants to cut power prices. Can't both be done. So it's desperately trying to think of something, and it's got an idea. How about robbing the coal and gas companies? How about forcing the gas companies to sell some of their excess gas to Australia for 1/3 of the price they'd get overseas? And how about getting the states to also cap the price of coal for power stations? Although the states aren't keen on the price cap for coal, unless the Albanese government gives them millions or even billions for the royalties, they'd lose. And the mining companies are sure not happy either. Joining me is Ian Macfarlane. He's the head of the Queensland Resources Council and former Industry and Resources Minister in the Howard and Abbott governments. Ian Macfarlane, it's great to catch up with you.
You do,
the
Andrew.
Albanese government wants a cap on coal prices to drive down electricity prices. A lot of Australians will say, yes, absolutely, whatever it takes, lower the power prices. They're robbers, etc., etc. That's what certainly the Victorian Premier is saying. What's wrong with that idea?
Well, look, firstly, in terms of coal supply, coal-powered stations in Queensland are particularly what they call mine mouth power stations. That is, the mine is literally right beside the power station, and it goes straight out of the pit into the boilers. They don't get anything like the prices we're seeing internationally, and putting a cap of whatever on coal prices won't affect the price of power. The reality is most of these power stations are buying their electricity, buying their coal off themselves and paying a fraction of the current international price. A cap just won't work. And in terms of capping prices and interfering in the market, it just sends such a bad signal to investors, and particularly in gas, Andrew, where we're also seeing the same idea, which is just as crazy. And we saw today comments from Woodside, Australia's biggest gas company, that if the federal government imposes a price cap on gas, they'll get less gas, not more. And companies like Woodside would have to reconsider investing in Bass Strait, where it's a partner with Exxon. So the reality is interfering in the market in coal won't make any difference, and in gas will actually lower production, not increase availability of cheaper electricity.
But in Macfarlane, a lot of people say, well, the miners will of course say that, if you impose price caps or whatever, you're going to drive off investment. They'll come here because we've got the resources and they want the resources. What's the evidence to suggest that they're really serious, that this will cost us investment, it will cost us jobs, and it will cost us future supplies of coal and gas?
Well, the proof of it is that you've got major companies from all over the world saying the same thing. And on top of that, Andrew, you've got the Japanese ambassador in Australia saying that Japan's investment opportunities in Queensland have been affected by this sudden increase in royalties. So if you increase the cost to companies, or if you cap their returns, they simply look at other countries around the world. And there are plenty of them, Andrew. We're not the only ones who produce gas. We're certainly not the only ones who produce coal. Investments go to countries like Colombia, to Indonesia, in gas to Mozambique, and the list goes on. Australia needs to be really careful here. Interfering in the market does one thing, and that's a signal to companies that if they come and invest in Australia, then they're likely to have their returns affected by government intervention. And so even companies that are based here, like BHP, are saying that interfering in the market or increasing costs will see them look at other investment destinations.
I know that Gina Reinhardt, for instance, has been looking at investments overseas, Africa, South America. I mean, we're punishing mining around here. Meanwhile, this war on coal, it's just gone so extreme, Ian. We this week had the Queensland Land Court turn down a new coal mine, a Clive Palmer coal mine, claiming it's going to cause deadly global warming that would kill people and animals. Now, I looked at the science, in this judgment. It's bizarre. It doesn't make allowances for improved lives, not just from the extra coal for heating, etc., but also from the fact fewer cold days actually is much better for people. What is Australia actually doing to itself with judgments like this?
Well, this is a recommendation and may be appealed by Clive Farmer, but the reality is it's now up to the Queensland government, the Minister for Resources in particular, and also the Chief Executive of the Department of Environment and Science to make a decision based on this recommendation from the court. But it is a landmark ruling, and it will definitely, if it stands, have an impact on the ability for Queensland to open new mines in the future. Everyone is watching and waiting to see what the Queensland government does with it.
Honestly, this is the most amazing collective suicide, economic suicide I've ever seen. It's just bizarre. Ian Macfarlane, thank you so much for your time.